Monthly checks may be sent out this year, and many lawmakers in the House have just learned about to propose a bill that will restore the improved and expanded monthly child tax credit payments. It would cost billions of dollars and would send Americans relief checks every month. It already has provided bipartisan support, and also a group of House representatives have just introduced the American Families Act, which will actually be a bill that would make the previously expanded and improved monthly child tax credit permanent. And during the crisis, the American Rescue Plan Act provided relief for American families through a series of payments and credits. One of those was a supercharged version of the child tax credit. And beginning in July of 2021, the IRS began distributing nearly $93 billion in advance child tax credit payments to families. Those are paper checks or direct deposits that appeared each month. And the payments were equal to 50% of the child tax credit estimated to be families and available to the families. Based on information reported on their federal income tax return, eligible families who did not receive the advance payments or didn't receive enough can claim the full credit on their 2021 tax return during the tax filing season. Mailing the payments in monthly installments wasn't the only change, and the credit was also bigger and fully refundable to qualifying taxpayers, and it means that you could receive the advanced child tax credit payment even if you did not owe any taxes. It has reached more than 61 million children, and studies suggest that it made a tremendous impact. A 2022 paper from the American Medical Association noted that children in the United States are more likely to live in poverty than any other age group. Before the crisis, over 10 million children in the United States lived in poverty. One of the highest child poverty rates among high-income countries. About half of all children living in poverty are living in what's called extreme poverty, defined as a household with an annual income of $13,000 or less. Now, the move was met with enthusiasm to expand a bill that would help them out. There does appear to be bipartisan support for making changes to the child tax credit, and various proposals have been floated by the GOP senators. But so far, House Republican leaders are hoping to pass a rule to set up floor votes on a bill to constrain the government's ability to regulate gas stoves. But the lawmakers saw their efforts fail after the House Freedom Caucus members joined Democrats in opposing the rule. The final vote of the rule was 206-220. A dozen Republicans opposed the rule. The 12th vote voted against the rule cast by the state's Department of Revenue announced in an official statement that the governor signed a new law to give Coloradans a tax rebate of $750 for individual filers and $1,500 for joint filers this summer. This law will provide immediate relief to Coloradans by sending you a check this summer instead of spring 2023. The Colorado Department of Revenue is working hard to make sure that residents get the right tax refund as soon as possible. According to the state's Department of Revenue, for residents who received an extended tax filing deadline of October 17th, the tax rebate check will be received by January 31st, 2023. Other states have also signed similar legislation, including Georgia, Delaware, Idaho, and Indiana. Now, breaking news, everybody. Senate Democrat Joe Manchin is upset at Senate Minority Mitch McConnell for opposing the new changes on President Biden's economic agenda. Top Democrats in the Senate are now revising a new version of the Build Back Better legislation. The lawmakers would like to see a monthly benefit boost included to the bill. Top Democrats in the Senate are now revising a new version of the Build Back Better legislation. The lawmakers would like to see a monthly benefit boost included to the bill. And today, Joe Manchin said on top that he's not dissuaded by warnings from the top Senate Republican leader to sink a bipartisan bill that would only strengthen the U.S. economic competitiveness. Manchin told reporters, "I'm not walking away if I can help the country, and if they want to play politics and play party politics, shame on them." Manchin added it was so wrong of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky to issue warnings to sink the bipartisan legislation, which would only boost the federal investment on emerging technologies like computer chips. The Kentucky Republican reiterated the ultimatum and tied to recent Democratic efforts to pass Biden's economic agenda. And during a speech on the Senate floor, McConnell said, "Party line scheming is going to crowd that out. Our side cannot agree to frantically steamroll through bipartisan talks in order to meet a timeline, so our Democratic colleagues can clear the decks to ram through a party line tax hike." McConnell warned and wanted to sink the bill as Democrats make progress towards clinching a deal with Manchin on a climate and tax economic spending package. But a spokesperson for Chuck Schumer said last week that Democrats plan to give $6,000 and get the payments every single month. Now, some governors are backing a one-time tax rebate to put as much as $800 in the pockets of the American people. And the governor told reporters, a paycheck does not go as far as it did 2 years ago, and I'm working to give nearly $1 billion back to the hands of hardworking, tax-paying Alabama residents. But applications for new guaranteed income programs in Massachusetts, for example, opened, with selected participants receiving monthly payments of up to $500. So folks, it's great to see that Joe Biden is actually doing something to help the American people, which since mid-2022, politicians have warned Americans and a growing number of tax people to be exact about this. And the IRS has said that it wants to hire new employees using funds from the $80 billion allocated to the Inflation Reduction Act. But according to several experts, the IRS does not plan to use all of that funding for hiring purposes alone. As the New York Times pointed out, the IRS total number of full-time employees is 20% fewer than what the agency had in 2010. Even though the population has grown, to bolster its numbers, the agency plans inflation skyrocketed. Reports have found that millions of children have fallen back into poverty. States have stepped in to make up some of the difference, and Vermont joins 9 other states in offering a state-level child tax credit, in addition to California, Colorado, Idaho, and New Mexico, and some other states. Additionally, North Carolina offers a child deduction rather than a credit, and Michigan's state legislature has passed a credit worth $500 for most children, though it is not law yet. Connecticut is offering a one-time tax rebate worth of $250 per child, capped at $750 for 3 children. Families need to apply to receive it. And the size of the credit and eligibility requirements vary greatly by state. Vermont's $1,000 payment, for example, is reserved for children 5 and under and families earning $125,000 or less. In Massachusetts, existing tax deductions for dependents were converted into two refundable credits. These state tax credits are worth between $180 to $240 per child under 12 for up to 2 children in all families. In some states, the credit is non-refundable, which means it can reduce someone's tax liability as low as $0. Taxpayers must file a tax return to receive it. Others, including Vermont, have made it fully refundable, meaning that it can reduce a filer's tax liability below $0. Despite the plans, the bill is yet to be formally proposed and is being negotiated on across both sides of Congress. Folks, we have a ton of good news about the fourth stimulus check and Social Security benefits. Stay tuned because you definitely don't want to miss out on this. Social Security, everybody, provides monthly benefits to millions of retired seniors. Some of those seniors depend on the program for the bulk of their income, and that's proven to be a problematic thing this year in particular. Although Social Security recipients get a generous 5.9% raise going into 2022, at this point the rate of inflation is far outpacing that boost. That means seniors who live mostly on Social Security are losing buying power even at a time when they're sitting on a higher raise. But that's not the only issue with depending heavily on Social Security. In future, Social Security may have to cut benefits to the tune of 20% due to revenue shortfall. That could leave many seniors in the lurch. In the coming years, Social Security expects to owe more in benefits than it collects in revenue.